want to talk a little bit before we get started, and Greg can cut this in wherever he wants to, but I had a Region F exercise here in Camden County on March 24th, and our volunteers, both with CERT and Aries, were able to take part with us, and it was for a fatality management incident, which was region-wide, so large scale. And I just want to say thank you. I don't know if any of them will ever see this, but Ernie Venus is the Camden County Emergency Coordinator for Aries. He is W0LTC, and he is absolutely on his game. He's got the start of rebuilding the Camden County Aries and getting that all in place. And I was very fortunate to have him and the CERTs working in the Emergency Operations Center for the exercise. So I just want to give them a little shout out, a little thank you, because it's very rare that the volunteers, and especially amateur radio volunteers, get that kind of recognition. So it's important to me to reach out, let you guys know if you're in emergency management or anything else, a field where you have volunteers working with you or for you, let them know you appreciate it, because God knows they cost a lot. You know, all those donuts you gotta buy and all those bottled waters, you know. So, but they don't really hear it. They don't get the accolades that we get from all of our partners and everything else. So thank you to the amateur radio community that deals with the emergency services side, because without you, a lot of our rural communities would really be stuck. So I just wanted to put that in there. And Greg, you feel free to cut it in wherever you'd like, but
right in where it's at.
Before we even start the show, I guess I had to start the show then, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon, evening, morning, whatever time of day it is, wherever you're joining us from. Welcome to Ham Talk. We are brought to you by our sponsors, the Hamsters Weaksignal Group. They are amazing. And Greg, despite all of the careful poking I do of him, he actually puts up with it quite a bit, and he does so much of the work for this show. So thank you, Greg. See, give credit where credit's due. Joining me today, our wonderful leader, Greg.
Howdy, how's everybody doing?
Let's try that again. Joining me today is Greg.
Hi, N5XO. Proud to come at you from Cracker Barrel, Missouri.
We'll get back to his buddy in a minute. If you were a Cracker Barrel here in Missouri, I'd be eating dinner with you, not here. Maybe we can do an on-scene live video or something for the show.
There you go.
Then we also have Andrea.
Hello, Andrea K2EZ.
And the beautiful Melissa.
Oh, hi, everybody. KI5ICQ. I'm in Lavernia, Texas.
And of course, by now, if you all don't know me, then you haven't been paying attention, because I'm the loudmouth one. So I'm Sam Henley, KE0LMY. I saw that, Greg. So back to the guest for this month, joining Greg live in his studio. This is Fred/Chuck, the dinosaur. There's been a hot debate. I don't know how much of it will actually make the video. Maybe Greg will put some of it in there. But he wants to name the dinosaur Fred. I think he should be named Chuck, and Melissa thinks he should be named Chuck too. So why don't you guys vote below? Let us know, Fred or Chuck.
I do the editing.
We'll let you have a
say.
say.
Your all's opinion counts.
Yes, it does, because we're going to tell him what the dinosaur's name is. So, of course, that was Greg's homage to the fact that I keep calling him a dinosaur. So,
Mm-hmm.
I figured can't beat them, join them.
That's right. Hey, Jurassic Park was a good movie. I'll take on anybody who doesn't agree. Oh, did you try and put your head in the dinosaur's mouth? We're a little goofy this month. I guess that might be normal at this point. So this month, yeah, this year, just whatever. We have a couple of segments for you this month. It's not going to be hopefully quite as long as last month's show, Greg. Melissa's got a few questions we're going to get to in just a second, but first I have a question for Andrea because she is in luck. She got out of the hot seat this month so that I could have another spot. So, Andrea, if you were to take your rover anywhere you have not traveled yet in the continental USA, where would you want to go?
Anywhere I haven't taken.
Haven't been, yes.
Okay, first off, I've been a lot of places. So the ones I haven't been are Oregon, Washington, California, and Arizona, and Nevada, and Vermont.
Okay, so she's not loving on the West Coast at all. You guys, that's another one you need to put below. Which one of those states does she need to come visit next? Which one of you guys wants a visit from the rover?
Oh, Montana. Forgot that one. Okay.
Okay, you should be able to knock that one out.
And Idaho. So, yeah.
Oh my God.
that whole thing.
So which one would you want to do? What is your number one on the I haven't done it yet list?
I would think Montana is probably
Sweet.
top of
Big
my
sky
list.
country.
In the summer.
Yeah, don't go in the winter.
Yeah.
All right, so Melissa, let's start with, you've got some questions for us, so.
I sure do. And I have a question for you.
Oh.
All right, this one's for Sam. This is from JC Smith. Actually, and this is my comments and questions and comments. So his comment is, Sam's segment was on target. She overlooked one area.
Uh-oh.
So he says, recently our county hired a new EM staffer.
Okay.
He was very clear he knew it all and did not need input from CERT, Aries, etc. He didn't last long.
Gee, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Well, on that comment, you are very correct. The first thing that I've learned, it's been 4 years now that I've been in the emergency management field, and the first thing I learned is you cannot ever even pretend that you know everything and that you don't need any help. It is never a thing that will fly. It is detrimental not only to your position, but to everybody that you're supposed to be supporting. So amidst all of the things, like I thank my volunteers and everything, an important thing is to admit when you don't know an answer. So you got it, JC. The people who come in thinking that they are hot stuff and don't have a thing to learn, oh, they are not going to last long. In particular, not a whole lot of elected officials are going to want to deal with someone like that because they have a hard enough job. So the more open and honest and willing to learn that people are, especially emergency management, the more that we let people who have the knowledge and the experience take the reins, the better that it's going to turn out for everybody. Yeah. So thank you so much for your comment. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I was going to say, definitely in that line of work, we must have coordinated cooperation to conquer the catastrophes.
Oh, look at you with the alliteration.
it just
coordination to conquer catastrophes. Hold on, I got to write that down. I'm totally stealing that. You think I'm kidding?
But just coordinating in the first place, having the ability to coordinate is, being cooperative and being humble and being open and being a team player. And you have to have that. You have to have that in emergency response. Otherwise, it's like pulling teeth, and it's agony for everybody around you until that person or persons can be pulled out of that team or of that operation. So, all right. My next question I have here, or question comment, is for Greg. And Mr. Mike McDonald says, what are you using for that H-shaped mast? What material is it made out of, and where are you getting it from? Also, the connectors to hold the H frame together. Thanks.
Well,
So Fred brings it in.
I just take Fred's tail up there. There's something wrong with that. Thanks, Sam. The original H frame was a homebrew, and I used SSR clamps, mast clamps, and brackets and stuff. They make plates for every occasion on antenna mast and everything. And I'll post a link for them.
Of course he will. Right down below in the box.
No, I put it in the video.
All right.
And everything, but the new H frame coming with the new antennas after the storm damage we had, the H frame's actually a commercial product from Inovana Antennas out of the UK.
What does that start with? How do you spell that?
INOVANTENNA.
Okay.
Inovana Antennas.
Okay.
And I may not be pronouncing that right. According to Ruth, I never do. But the H frame is the new one's coming from them, along with all my antennas.
So do you know what it was made out of? Because that was part of this question, is what's it made
well,
out
the
of?
original
Material.
the original H frame that I had built was all aluminum mast. I used aluminum lightweight tubing, 2-inch diameter for everything, except for the verticals. They were 1.5 inches. And I don't know what the commercial one is. When I get it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
And they've only been ordered since November, so.
Oh my God.
In line.
Okay. Next question is for Andrea, and Jack says, why do you choose roving rather than a fixed station? Was it strictly personal preference or restrictions on fixed station operation?
Well, I think there's several answers to that, but the first and foremost, my weak signal VHF is limited at my residence in New Jersey because I'm in a very deep valley where to the east of me, I got to climb a 300-foot hill in like half a mile. West of me, it's again 300 or 400 feet higher than me, although it's about a mile away. I have a great view north, but south is just along the ridge line, and it's not great. Now, one of my video segments, I did do some 180-mile contacts, from one in my driveway and another, about 2 miles up the lake. I get that word out. And so getting over those hills isn't a be all or end all, but the shorter distances to the east are just killer. I have to bounce signals. The second thing is I fell into VHF weak signal during a contest while on a road trip. I had a road trip scheduled. I had HF in the car, and I heard a VHF contest, and I said, let me put my old FT736 in the car and some other equipment, some very basic I mean, like horizontal dipole, that was it for antennas, and operated. So my first contest experience in VHF was as a rover. And I quickly found out that on Sunday, the fixed stations kind of run out of stations to work. They've worked everybody that's within easy range. They're looking for band condition openings. But as a rover, I found every time I changed grids, I was fresh. I was seeing excitement, and I was changing grids. It takes a little over an hour to cross a grid north to south, east to west. It's closer to 2 hours. But if you're near a corner, you change a grid, then you change a grid 30 minutes later, then you're changing another grid, and the same stations are looking for you, and they're like, are you in that new grid yet? So I enjoy being on the road, and I like the excitement of not just calling CQ and no answer, but being able to change grid and working people. And sometimes I change grids again before I work everybody that I could possibly work. I have to make decisions what to do. So during those times, the doldrums of the contest, so to speak, I'm moving. I like to be moving constantly. There is a way of roving where you're stopping at locations and then moving and stopping again, where it might be a little different, but I tend to, on Sunday of the contest, tend to be just moving and changing grids and working who I could get. And when I get a further distance away, suddenly I can't work people that I was working earlier in the contest. I've changed my location. I use the term geographic diversity. And now I'm working new stations and new grid squares, new multipliers, new activation. That's why I love it.
Yeah, the first time I met or worked you was about 4 or 5 years ago during the June contest, and Marshall sent out an alert for you, advertising for you, that you were coming from New York. It was when you and Rhea traveled together, I think.
Well, no, that was before that, and so it was probably my 2016 contest. That was the first time I was coming down there. Rhea never came down. She only participated, other than some sprints, in the 2018 contest, which was in Pennsylvania and New England.
Oh, okay. Well, it was about that time period. Anyway, Marshall K5QE sent out a thing advertising for you to listen and watch for you and another rover. And I listened for you. I picked you up a couple of times, I think either Missouri or Kentucky. And then I finally got to work you in Texas when you were down around Houston area.
Yeah, you probably heard me Tennessee. That contest I did work K5TR from Tennessee, and then worked him again in Texas, where he said, I questioned me about the grid, because I was in Tennessee once and now I'm in South Texas. It's like, yeah, that was a correct grid. It's like, okay, you moved a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Any more for us, Melissa?
Yes, there's actually one more. It's supposed to be for me.
Yay!
For you.
It's from Jerry. Jerry says, have you gotten on the air yet? I'm not far from you and monitor 14652 and have been anxiously waiting to hear from you so I can say that I got to talk to a famous on-air personality. Love the show, and Show Us Your Shack is my favorite segment. Well, Jerry, that's very sweet. That's very sweet.
Jerry, you need to send her pictures of your shack so she can do your shack on her segment.
Boy, that was a zing back.
That was perfect.
So yes, I have gotten on the air. Greg and I have talked a couple of times, and Greg and I talked again today. So I was on the air today, and I'm trying to remember AI5CA was also on. So yes, I was on the radio today.
Yeah, and she even called us.
Well, it took over almost a year and a half of ham talk.
And what did I can't remember what I said. Greg's like, can I KI5ICQ? Can I comment now? Like,
Now you said, finally I can get a word in edgewise. I think she was implying that we were talking too much.
Gee, you, Greg? No. Oh. Y'all just check last month's segment, okay? Just check it out on the time.
I agree. Everybody should check out my segments anyway. They're very informative.
That is a perfect segue into Greg's segment for this month.
We're going to talk about mufflers today, according.
We're all pretty much convinced it's a muffler, yeah.
I thought
It's not a muffler.
We're going to roll into connecting the antennas that we worked on last month to the shack. So let's roll that beautiful shack footage. Hi, welcome to the second installment of how to build your 2-meter 220 VHF Hamshack. Last month, we went into a lot of detail on antennas, how to select a proper antenna, recommendations for antennas, as well as how to stack them, similar band or same band, different bands and everything. So we went into a lot of detail. This month, we're going to connect those antennas that we worked on last month to the Hamshack, okay? Now, with that said, this is going to be a brief overlay. It's not going to be a dig down deep installment on losses and feed line qualities and types and everything. We're going to gloss over the surfaces this month. If you really want to see all the details, go to Ham Talk episode 6, where I went into very much detail on losses, insertion losses, tree impact losses, and everything else. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do that. All right, as we were describing, there's basically, for our purposes and desires, there are basically, we're looking at hardline, and we'll cover a couple different sizes, coax, and a couple different styles of coax on there, okay? And I'm going to break this down into some pure and simple distances and recommendations, okay? And I will be recommending a couple brands on here because of the fact that I believe in the product. As a rule, we don't recommend products, but for this whole series, I am making multiple recommendations because I believe in the product. I believe in the quality and workmanship. And so I'm going to recommend it. You know, that may not be kosher to some people, but it's my show. All right. And we're not bad mouthing any of the competitors or anything, different choices. I am just telling you what myself personally in my shack I use. And also, if you came to me and said, hey, help me design my shack, this is what I would be recommending. Okay. If your runs are over, say, 75, 80 feet, I personally, and again, this is my personal preference, I always run hardline. Okay. Everything in my shack, my feed line runs to my antennas run from a shortest one is about 85 feet. The longest are a little over 140 feet. Okay. And I run hardline on absolutely everything. I use 3 basic size hardline runs, and with the exception of my ranch house EME system, which is on 2 1/4 inch hardline, 200-foot run, 2 of them, one for 1296 and the other for 2 meters. And that's all going to be put on 2 1/4 inch hardline. Typical run from antenna junction point to the shack. We're probably looking at about 140 feet to 160 feet on each one of those runs. So, you know, with moon bounce, losses are absolutely critical. Okay. And we'll actually do a segment on building a small digital EME station here in the future. All right. Here at my personal ham shack, and please excuse my clutter. I'm actually working on a couple projects here. So I've kind of got parts and pieces a little bit of everywhere. But I run 3 sizes of hardline. On 2 meters, or I mean 6 meters, I actually run 1/2 inch hardline. Okay. Now this is some interesting 1/2 inch. It's a hollow dielectric. I actually have a few hundred feet of this, and I have standard hardline that most people are used to. Okay. But the 1/2 inch is run to my HF antennas. I have a 10 through 30 meter log periodic, and it's fed with 1/2 inch hardline. Then my 6 meter antenna system is also fed with 1/2 inch hardline. Okay. And couple of reasons that I like this on HF and on 6 meters, my losses with this, my HF antenna run is about 150 feet, and I've got less than like 1/4 of a dB loss in my entire feed line running 1/2 inch hardline. So I'm maximizing my transmit signal, but most importantly, I'm maximizing my receive signal on that. 6 meters, same thing. It's about 120 feet run, and it is on 1/2 inch hardline as well. And my losses are well below the goal that I have of 1 dB max. I shoot for 0.8, but 1 dB max is my limit on everything. So that's my HF and 6 meter. Then 2 meter, and you can see the difference here a little bit. Notice the difference where you can kind of see. 2 meters and 220, I run on 3/4 inch hardline, and give you an idea what the connectors and stuff are like. I use all crimp-on clamp-on connectors, and I like them for a couple reasons. Number one, if I ever have to repair anything, it's reusable. And number two, it is also just very good quality, good dependability, and I have never had a connector fail on any of my equipment over the years. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for some of the coaxial stuff. Then as we move up to 432, 900, I am actually running, the muffler, as Melissa and Samantha referred to it. But this is 1 5/8 hardline, And I run this. I've got about 95 feet on 432 and on 900 megahertz. And then on my 1296, it's also about 90 feet. And I am running 2 1/4 inch hardline. And I don't have an example of that in here. Okay. So basically my rule of thumb and my recommendation is if you are running over 75 feet, I recommend hardline. All right. Get those losses down. The lower the losses, the more productive your station's going to be. And there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. All right. If you've got high loss, let's say you've got 175 foot and you ran RG8 cable for some reason. All right. On 2 meters. Well, you've got 2 options. Rip all that out, and it might not be practical if it's buried under the ground in conduit or something, going up the tower and everything. So if you wanted to be able to receive properly, you've either got to replace all that cable, which is not cost effective, or you got to turn around and put a mast-mounted preamp up there. What a lot of people, and the biggest mistake I see in station design is high loss cable. People put crap cable in there. RG8U seems to be, or 213, seems to be what I find 99% of the time. But I've actually gone out to one station. I had a guy come to one of our hamster lunch and learns, and we turned around and he ate up everything. He went back, he put up a 95 foot, 100 foot tower. He put a stack set of 13 element Yagis up there. This was for sideband operation and everything. And I saw him about a month later and he just cussed me out. Told me that I was so full of crap and everything because I had told him how wonderful sideband was, it was going to work, and I had promoted sideband, and he couldn't hear anybody. He even could barely hear my station, and he lives like 10 miles away. So I'm like, dude, that something's wrong. So I got over there and I took my antenna analyzer, a couple certified dummy loads and everything, so we could go ahead and really do some testing and dig in and get out. I walked into it, or out to his shack, got there, we went out to the backyard to his tower, and I'm looking and I'm like, well, problem solved. And he's like, what do you mean? He ran Radio Shack. He had picked up, when they went out of business, a 500 foot roll of RG 58 Coax. This stuff is as big around as my finger here, and the loss on 2 meters is, on that run, I think we equated it out to like almost 27 dB. I mean, it was ridiculous. Out of a 300 watt amplifier that he was running on his station, when we put a certified dummy load at the end and a watt meter at the end of the cable, he had less than 7 watts. So 300 watts was burning up, and we had, I want to say it was 7 or 9 watts at the end of the cable. It also had really cheap connectors on it that were probably lossy as all get out too. And then I pointed out, okay, you're running 300 watts and getting 7 watts. Now imagine that signal, unless it's 20 over S9, you're not going to hear it. And then it's going to come out to be like, well, like my station. I'm less than 10 miles away. I'm running a little over a KW when I'm working DX on 2 meters. And he was getting me like S2. It was just unbelievable. So I, after much conversation and convincing, and I had to literally show him and demonstrate the differences in the loss. I mean, he just wouldn't believe me. It was physically connect up a amp and watt meter and everything, and we did some tests, and he ended up replacing it with Messi and Poloni Ultraflex 13/500 that I recommended because he was adamant he couldn't afford hardline, and I'm going to cover that in a minute here because it's not as expensive as you think. Where it's usually expensive is in the connectors. But that's something I want to recommend. If you're under, say, 75 feet, I cannot recommend Messi and Poloni Coax any better. This is, and I recommend the Ultraflex 13/500. Number one, that's not doing detail really good, but the connectors on these things, I buy it pre-assembled just because it's kind of a pain to put connectors on this stuff. And they sweep it and send you a complete lab report of your losses, your bandwidth, the frequencies, and everything else that you tell them you're going to be operating on. So you actually get a report, but the connectors are extremely high quality. The coax is extremely high quality. And the best part, it is very, very flexible. Okay. I mean, it's very flexible with no problems. And it's more expensive than most coax, but it's well worth it. Okay. I thought I had the sheet here, but I don't. But when you do order it and everything, you will get a complete detailed test sheet that shows it swept, and you'll get a complete report. It shows where it was working, all of its specifications and stuff. So you can't beat it. If you're running under 75 feet, I would recommend that you purchase this. Now, my runs on all of this cable are anywhere from 5 feet to about 25 feet. Okay, that's the longest runs I have of this. What I use this for, because it's so flexible, this comes straight off my antennas, comes down, makes my rotor loop on the top of the tower, and then plugs into the hard line, which is at the top. So all my hard line runs go to the top of the tower, and then they terminate right there. And then the Messi and Poloni cable comes down and makes my loop out for the rotor so the antennas can rotate and everything without it binding, and then plug straight in. And depending on where that's at, the run could be as long as 25 feet, or it could be as short as 5 feet. Actually, probably 8 to 9 feet is about the shortest I've ever done. And then I also use all of this. This is everything on the inside. So all of my hard lines come in and they terminate into a big grounding block. And we're going to be doing a complete tour of how my station's built in a future episode. So you'll get to see this in more detail. But it comes in to the shack, comes into the termination point, which is a large copper plate, and it has the all the connectors in and everything. And that's where it plugs into the Messi and Poloni, runs up to watt meters, amplifiers. So all of my internal cable runs are the Ultraflex 13/500. Okay. And that just keeps my losses down all the way. All right. I want to real quick cover a couple things. So if you are over 75 feet, try to run. You can get away with Messi and Poloni, up to about 100, 140 feet. Okay. Your losses are going to be increasing, but it won't be real severe. And I'll tell you this cable, and you notice again how thin it is, okay, and flexible. This has a better loss rating than LMR 600. And unlike LMR 600, you can actually bend it. I used to run LMR 600 Ultraflex, and it's got some flexibility, but after a few years up on the tower, it would start failing, and I would start having some issues because while it flexes, it doesn't like to do it. Okay, so we switched over to that. So if you're over 75 feet, I recommend start running a 1/2 inch hard line. And here's a trick and a secret. Okay, you can get 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and mufflers pretty economically if you contact like local tower companies, cell phone companies, and everything. I a few years ago had a connection with a local company that maintained towers for cell companies. They would replace antennas, run new feed line and everything. When they run a cable run up, and that spool now gets to about 150, 200 feet, it becomes useless for them in many cases. And so they end up just getting rid of that cable for basically the cost of the copper. They'll do copper sale. Okay, so you can go in and buy 150, 200 feet segments of 3/4 inch hard line, which is really a common one for them, 1/2 inch hard line, and in some cases, 1 5/8. Okay. I will tell you the first 2 runs I bought of 1 5/8 for 432 and 900, I paid $15 a foot. Okay, I bought it brand new, and I was talking about this to a fellow ham, and he looked at me like I was stupid, which probably has some very valid points, and told me about the cell tower company people. Now, you can also do that with things like your local cable TV companies and everything, but that 75 ohm coax, our radio's like 50. So you've got to do some adaptation to get the 75 ohm to work. So I recommend looking up local tower companies and maintenance companies. Call a couple of the communication companies around town and everything that you can find, and they will be happy to point you in the direction of some people, and they may even do the work and have it themselves. So you've got options. Okay. So to cap everything up, run the best connectors that you can. I mean, I cannot stress this enough. When you go to the ham swap fest and everything, and they got the guy with the giant bins of $5 connectors, you're throwing your $5 away for every one of them you bought. If you run any kind of power, especially on VHF and up, those things are going to fail on there. And I can tell you from personal experience that they're going to fail. Buy good quality connectors. You're going to pay for most things anywhere from $25 to $150 a connector, but it's worth it. You're only going to do it once. It's much more pleasing to do that. I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. So anyway, that kind of wraps us up. I hope We covered it. And again, like I said, go to episode number 6. I go into really strong detail, but I cannot stress enough the importance of running high quality feed line. Okay. Doesn't matter what you do, but 90% of your shack is in that feed line capability. All right. All right. Well, let's go back to the show. Okay, we're done.
Greg, that was amazing.
You lied.
Inside joke. If you haven't watched our previous episodes, you need to go back and watch our previous episodes so you can be in on the inside joke.
I think Greg was just trying to feed you a line during that segment.
I told you she was here for comic relief this month. Well, it's really funny when you guys were talking about, Andrea, when you were talking about, or Greg said that he had somebody spot you and that's how he found you. I'm dying because part of what I covered in my contesting segment for this month was being spotted. I was like, segue! No. We're going to have to break the questions up so they'll just naturally segue for us through the whole show.
Well, it's time for your segment, young lady.
Yes, the one that I got to you before filming this month. Woo! Guys, that never happens, number one. I was in luck that today I just happened to have some time where I could carve it out and get it done and pop it right over to Greg. And my segment this month is on a little bit of special event operations, contesting. Some of that overlaps in some cases, so it applies to both. And I actually think it's going to end up turning into a 2 or 3 part segment because I barely scratched a couple of things and it was already 10 minutes. Hello everyone, once again I am Sam Henley, KE0LMY. I have an entire list of items that I want to do short little videos on so that Greg can fit them in wherever he needs them throughout the year. There may be more than one in an episode. So one of the things I want to talk about in this particular little clip or video is the questions I've received about running a special event station, because other than my EMA work and my work with Aries, I actually have the Damn Amateur Radio Club, KE0TGG, in which we do special events. So the questions that we get most often come down to, what does it take to schedule a special event? And just about every question that we field can fall underneath that singular question. We'll start with the easy stuff. The number one thing you need is interest. So when you are scheduling a special event, you want to pick something that will make people go, ooh, wow, what is it? It can be something that has to do with a landmark that you have near you. It can be something that has to do with a special date for your town or your area that you're working with. It could be something as simple as you want to do, say, a Christmas special event, but you come up with a cool spin on it or a cute spin on it, and it'll draw people's attention. Now, once you have an idea of what you want to do with that, you move into the planning phase, or at least what I would call the planning phase, because you take that idea and then you start turning out information on when is your special event going to be. Are you going to do it in a location where people can actually come and visit you? Field Days was really good about doing that and causing a lot of interest in physically visiting people who are doing amateur radio. We can springboard off of that and do the special events. Sometimes it can be as simple as going to a dam. Like for us, our amateur radio club is based around dams. So what we can do is we can go to open park areas and things like that, set up our radios or a trailer. we're partnered pretty tightly over in Benton County with the Benton County Aries, and we are fortunate enough to be able to use the emergency communications trailer. This also exercises the equipment that's on the trailer, so it gives everybody a chance to get familiar with it, and most of the time it's the same people who are helping us run our special events as who are operating the emergency communications for the county. So I'm really fortunate in that case. The thing that I really enjoy doing, besides the rapid fire contest style special events, is I like to design the certificate or the card that you're going to get, the QSL card that you're going to get for contacting us. I love graphic design. I think I'm up to 13 websites and Facebook pages now. I get a lot of practice at it, so I have a good time with it. And it's one of the few things that, in the very stressful day and age that I'm living in, it gives me just a few minutes to have a little fun and do something that reminds me it's not all about work. So take the time to figure out if you want to create a special certificate for people doing something out of the ordinary. There was, in our first year, we activated 2 dams for special events, and if you contacted us for both, you got not only the QSL card for each of the events, you also got the certificate. Anything that's a little bonus that people can use as a brag is something that motivates people to take part in your event. Now, when you're thinking about scheduling the date and time, even better, of your special event, you want to try and aim for something that's already going to have something going on. I learned this the hard way by accident because I started doing special events with our club, and the first one was pretty popular because we were brand new, straight out of the gate. Everybody wanted to see what we were about. The second one was, it was fine. The third one, I think it was the third one, I accidentally scheduled on the weekend of the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. So while I had on all the way down the band to the left of me and all the way down the band to the right of me was all moon landing contacts, our little station was nestled right there in the middle, and we inadvertently had hundreds and hundreds of contacts. Even when they found out that we weren't associated with the moon landing, we had people who were like, oh, we didn't even know you were having a special event. This is great. The other thing is to have yourself spotted, whether you've got an entire club that can spot you on spotting websites. That is tremendously helpful. Now, while the more established contests and special events don't really need that kind of help, when you're running a very small group or a very small event, you need all the help you can get, because if people are just spinning the dial, if they don't have the newer radios that show the waterfall, then if you're not talking constantly, they're not going to see the spike. They're not going to even know you're there. So spotting websites, I back 100%. And anytime I hear one little station calling, from CQ, I will run out there to a spotting site and throw their information up there, because there's nothing more thrilling to a small group or a single operator than people finally finding them and having a tiny little pile up to work. And then you feel like all of the effort that you put in is worth it. So that brings us to kind of how to deal with some of the bad things of special events. Well, any of you who have been part of special events will know that you'll get your, I like to call them interrupters. These are the people who don't care what you're doing and they want to disrupt everything that you are trying to accomplish. They tune up the radios on the frequency, which makes that high-pitched squeal. They do the talking over you, or they'll even cuss at you. I mean, I've had some pretty vicious interrupters with some of our special events, and I learned a really neat trick from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway special event station when I worked them for a year or so. I learned from my friend Brian that it's great to, if you're hearing them but you're not hearing anybody else, backtrack on your list and pretend you're remaking a contact. it's so helpful because then they don't think you can hear them and they end up wandering away because they get bored. So while you're not really making a contact, they think you're making contacts around them. And you could do 2 or 3 right in a row, just rehashing one of the earlier ones that you've made, and it'll throw them off their game. So that's one of the biggest problems. The next one is, despite the fact that we can't save space on a band or a frequency, there are established time periods and frequencies and meetings and things like that, that as a special event station, you don't want that bad taste in their mouth that you're not willing to move down the band a few, megahertz or whatever it is. Just move. I mean, don't let it become a fight. At that point, it's causing you more stress than just going ahead and finding a place to set up that's not going to interfere, especially when you've got some clubs doing their meetings and they are long established. They've been having their meetings for 20 years on the exact same day, at the exact same time, in the exact same place. Fine, let them have it. It's not worth the fight. Keep in mind that the whole reason that you want to do special events is to bring a little joy, have a little fun. And I think that sometimes people lose touch with that. And that's what makes it a little more difficult. So that was my little talk on some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that we handle. If you're not going to do in-place special events, you're just going to do it over the airwaves. You have a lot less physical items you have to set up. If you don't have a trailer and you're just working out of the back of your car or the front of your car, hey, more power to you. That's how I started. My very first attempt at field day was on a radio out of the back of my Durango. So I mean, you want to have a little fun with it, learn what you're doing, and overall, if you can make something annual or make something happen over and over or be consistent about it, which is something that I've lacked, unfortunately, it will make people want to come back to you. Big shout out to my friends out at Indy. I hope to be able to participate in the Indy 500 and Brickyard 400 and all the other special events with you guys this year. I hope you see this. So thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day. KE0LMY 73. If you guys end up liking it, I can continue on through more of what at least our Damn Amateur Radio Club covers when we go out to do special events. So leave it down below.
add your comments, please. Also, while you're there, subscribe. I'm going to finally say that. Subscribe.
And put up a little subscribe button over like Fred/Chuck/Scott, whatever we want to end up naming him. So let him hold the sign. Subscribe. One of us needs to learn how to speak Spanish so we can, say it in Spanish, because I can't.
I think if Fred eats Greg, Fred will up Chuck.
All right.
He is really taking this comic relief title to heart.
I think she's on the wrong show. She thinks she's doing her stand-up comedy.
Hey, I'm on board. A lot of us have stressful jobs. We don't mind a laugh or two.
So I'll just be warned if I start pulling out my stand-up comedy.
Hey, I think we could give her a little segment. Oh, he took away the dinosaur. Oh, I'm sad. My kids call it
Serenity of the Crashing Waves.
My kids call it Sad Sammy. Sad Sammy. Well, we hope that you've at least been entertained. You know us. We're just a group of just fun-loving people, just having a little bit of extra time on our hands, and we want to bring you these shows. Of course, Greg's segment and Andrea's segments are always the most informative, so they get all the credit for all of the technical stuff, and I hope that you get a little something out of whatever I do, and Melissa will hopefully get some of you guys sending pictures in so that we can get her Show Us Your Shack up and running again. because she hasn't gotten to do it in months.
And I think Jerry should provide some shack photos.
Jerry, I think you should. I'm talking right to you, Jerry. Jerry, send us a picture of your shack so that we can get you on the air with Melissa. And now, Melissa, you're going to have to be on the radio all the time because there's like 12,000 people that want to talk to you.
Yeah, you know, if you get on, you could encourage people to send you shack photos.
That's true.
All right, we'll do.
You have a thing. All right, everybody. We'd like to thank you again for joining us for another month of Ham Talk. Well, it felt like it's been a month. Our hour of Ham Talk this month. And we really appreciate the comments, the questions, your shacks, any interaction that we get from you guys. It gives us a direction so that we know what we want to do with the show. As it is, we are just kind of flying by the seat of our pants and we just randomly pick. You saw the list. I have a list of things that I'm going to video, and I've already been successful for another month of getting it to Greg.
And I think that everybody should understand how amazing it is that you got me the video before the show was 8 weeks late.
He just can't get over that.
If our show is late, hang on. If our show is late coming out this month, it's not because of me.
Oh, no, it's not. It should be absolutely no way connected with you this month.
Not to say anything else about anyone else. Greg, wherever he happens to be on my screen, probably over there.
Mine's recorded too.
So again, thank you guys. Final thoughts. Make it quick, Greg.
I have
final
thoughts. I hope you enjoyed the segment on mufflers. And that's.
Can we try that again?
I hope you enjoyed the segment on mufflers. I'm not sure how you got a muffler out of this, Melissa.
It looks like the
motorcycle. I'm
motorcycle, yeah.
All right.
I get it. All right, Andrea, final thoughts or one final joke?
I don't think my final joke would be appropriate for the show, so I'm going to pass. Nothing else. Take care, everyone. It's a pleasure.
And Miss Melissa. All right, guys, thank you so much to our sponsors, the Hamsters Week Signal Group. We love that they're able to sponsor us through everything that we're trying to do here. And as usual, leave your comments below, leave your questions below, and get your pictures of your ham shacks over to Melissa so that we can get you on the air. All right, we'll say 73 to you guys. See you next month.
Everyone, thanks for joining us.